He ran through the tunnel. Then, when he got on the other side, he ran to the World Trade Center. There, he helped others rescue people until, sadly, it was too late. Now, did I see Fireman Stephen Stiller? I have to tell you, I don't know. I saw a lot of firemen in that building, in the tumult. Every single one of them was risking their life in the same way. That kind of heroism is what we saw, what I witnessed many, many times that day. And I want you to notice when you look around here, there are other men and women in uniform that are willing to protect us as well. Second, remembrance. We honored the sacrifice of Stephen Stiller with the second annual Tunnel to Towers run here in Michigan on Saturday. This race is one that we use to honor people who helped others. Another is the Michigan Remembers 9/11 Fund. Now, I joined with another survivor 5 years after the tragedy to start this Michigan Remembers 9/11 Fund, and we sponsor events like the Tunnel to Towers race. This year we're sending 2 Michigan first responders out to New York for that event. We had a New York City firefighter come out also. We also sponsor a special essay contest for high school students. We can't let our youth fail to learn about what happened that day, and events like that essay contest and events like this make sure that they don't. Now, I urge you to visit the website at michiganremembers.org, and if you wish, help us continue our mission of remembering. On our website, we remember each and every one of the 19 people from Michigan that were victims of the 9/11 attack. One of them was a young man that grew up around here and graduated from Gull Lake High School in 1997. Yes, he was one of us. He might have been here. My friends, I'm so glad you are here because you are remembering and honoring this person, Bradley Horn, and all the other victims in your own way. Now, some of us remember someone individually because we knew them. Some remember people whose story you heard. All of us should remember the nearly 3,000 Americans from every walk of life, including the 19 from our own state that passed away. Lastly, I want to tell you about what I learned over the past 11 years. A good rabbi said, we have to learn some lessons. And I've learned some lessons, and I want to tell you 3 of them that should settle in your heart. Here's the first thing I learned. Americans would not stand by and just watch. In the hours after this tragedy, many committed men and women went to Pennsylvania, they went to Washington, they went to New York to help in the relief and rescue efforts. Among them were men and women from Michigan. Now, I spoke with 2 of them on Saturday. One's a fire chief in a small town here in Michigan. He told me of hours on the bucket brigade. The bucket brigade was where you carried buckets of debris out of the giant pile of metal and smoking rubble at the World Trade Center site. After a few days, he said it was almost too difficult to bear. Another, a deputy sheriff in a nearby county, also went. He had a lot of stories about iron workers that were there before him, got there before him, were already pulling off pieces of metal, cutting pieces of steel. Now, all these men were hoping to try to find survivors, but I have to tell you, there were very, very few survivors after the first few hours in New York. Eventually, these men from Michigan had to return home. But behind them and beside them were hundreds more men. And day by day and then month by month, they excavated, they paused, they excavated, they paused, they wiped away dust, they wiped away tears, and they kept on going. They didn't stop. They continued onward. Then finally the site was cleared. Ceremony was held, the last beam was removed. Prayers were said. The site was silent. And then what we all hoped would happen did happen. We began to rebuild. Slowly and painfully, we began rebuilding. So this is the second thing I learned about America. We will rebuild anything our enemies knock down. Today, a tower there, the Freedom Tower, is nearly completed. A museum is coming together. A portion of that museum now accepts visitors, the memorial outside. The last time I was there, a few years ago, there was no museum and the new Freedom Tower was just being started. I now look forward to seeing that museum. I look forward to seeing that tower. I hope every single one of you can go there at some point, see that site, see that museum, see that tower. And when you do, you'll feel the pride of knowing that what was knocked down by violence and hate was rebuilt with love and strength and patriotism. The third thing I learned about America is even more important. I learned America loves its freedom. Really, I relearned that America loved its freedom. Now, nearby here is the Red Arrow Highway, named for that division of troops largely from our area of the state that mustered for World War I. World War I was quite some time ago, but those brave men left for a faraway continent, a really faraway continent, not knowing whether they would come back for freedom. After that, now many of us know veterans from Korea, from Vietnam, from Iraq, from Afghanistan, even from World War II. They too showed that Americans love their freedom and will fight to protect it. Now I ask you to look around you. Most of us, not all of us, but most of us were alive on September 11th, 2001, and we knew that the country faced a choice. Give up your way of life, give up your freedoms, and submit to a new tyranny, or defend your way of life, defend your freedom, and pay a very high price. What did we do? Well, I ask you, my friends, look around you. We did not give up. We never gave up our freedom. So if you ask me what the most important lesson I learned after 11 years of grieving, watching, remembering, it is this. Americans will not give up our freedom to satisfy any tyrant or any terrorist. This is just a small comfort to those who lost someone they knew. It's a small comfort to those of us who grieve for all 3,000 people we lost. But it's an important comfort. America lost many people, but it never lost the will to be free. And with God's hope, I hope we never lose that will to be free. Thank you, Kalamazoo. Thank you for reminding all of us what it means to be an American.
Please stand for the last alarm ceremony by the City of Portage firefighters.
The men and women of today's fire service are confronted with a more dangerous work environment than ever before. We are forced to continually change our strategies and tactics to accomplish our tasks. Our methods may change, but our goals remain the same as they were in the past: to save lives and protect property, sometimes at a terrible cost. This is what we do. This is our chosen profession. This is the tradition of the firefighter. The fire service of today is ever-changing, but steeped in traditions 200 years old. One such tradition is the sound of a bell. In the past, as firefighters began their tour of duty, it was the bell that signaled the beginning of that day's shift. Throughout the day and night, each alarm was sounded by a bell, which summoned these brave souls to fight fires and to place their lives in jeopardy for the good of their fellow citizen. And when the fire was out and the alarm had come to an end, it was the bell that signaled to all the completion of that call. When a firefighter had died in the line of duty, paying the supreme sacrifice, it was the mournful toll of the bell that soundly announced a comrade's passing. We utilize these traditions as symbols which reflect honor and respect on those who have given so much and who have served so well. To symbolize the devotion of these brave souls had for their duty, a special signal of 3 rings, 3 times, represents the end of our comrades' duties, and that they will be returning to quarters. And so, to those who have selflessly given their lives for the good of their fellow man, their task completed, their duties well done, to our comrades, their last alarm, they are going home.
The memorial wreath will be presented by Captain Julie Parsons of the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety and Sergeant Amy Price of the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office.